The private terminal was alive with reporters, business executives, and airport security officers. Camera flashes lit up the entrance as everyone waited for the arrival of one man, Daniel Carter, one of the youngest billionaires in the country. At just 36 years old, he had built a business empire that most people could only dream of. To the world, Daniel was the definition of success. But behind the expensive suits, private jets, and billion-dollar deals was a man carrying a heartbreak that money could never heal. 15 years earlier, the woman he loved more than anything had disappeared without a single goodbye. They had planned their future together, chosen their wedding date, and even designed matching rings as a symbol of their promise. Then, overnight, she vanished. Daniel searched for months, then years. He hired private investigators, contacted old friends, and visited every place they had ever shared together. Eventually, the trail went cold, and with no answers left to find, he buried himself in work. Building his company became the only way to silence the pain that never truly left him. That morning, Daniel had arrived at the airport to catch a flight for one of the biggest business meetings of his career. Surrounded by his security team, he walked confidently through the terminal while travelers stepped aside to let him pass. Everything seemed perfectly normal until three identical little boys suddenly broke through the crowd and ran straight toward him. His bodyguards reacted instantly, stepping in front of Daniel. "Stop! Stay back!" The smallest boy froze in fear, but instead of running away, he took a deep breath and spoke politely. "Please, we only want to ask him one question." Daniel noticed the sincerity in the boy's eyes. He calmly raised his hand, signaling his security team to step aside. "It's all right," he said. "Let them come." The boys slowly walked closer until they stood directly in front of him. For a few silent seconds, none of them spoke. Then the oldest boy looked down at Daniel's left hand and quietly asked, "Sir, why don't you wear the ring anymore?" Daniel's heart skipped a beat. Without thinking, his fingers touched the empty place where his ring had once been. He looked at the boy in disbelief. "How do you know about my ring?" The boy smiled innocently. "Because our mommy still wears the same one." In that instant, the noise of the airport seemed to disappear. Daniel felt as though the entire world had stopped. Only two rings like that had ever existed. He had designed them himself 15 years ago. One belonged to him. The other belonged to the woman he had loved with all his heart, the woman who disappeared before they could become husband and wife. His voice became unsteady as he looked at the three boys. "What's your mother's name?" Before any of them could answer, a frightened woman's voice echoed through the terminal. "Boys! Where are you?" The three boys immediately turned around with excited smiles. "Mommy!" Daniel slowly lifted his eyes. And the suitcase slipped from his hand. It was Emily. For a brief moment, Daniel forgot where he was. The busy airport, the reporters, the flashing cameras, and the constant announcements all seemed to disappear. The only person he could see was the woman standing a few steps away from him, the woman he had spent 15 years searching for. Emily stopped in her tracks the instant she recognized him. The color slowly drained from her face, and tears gathered in her eyes before she could even say a word. Her breathing became uneven as memories she had tried to bury for years came rushing back. "Daniel," she whispered. Hearing his name in her voice after so many years sent a chill through his entire body. It felt unreal, as if he were trapped inside a dream that could disappear at any second. Neither of them moved. They simply stood there, staring at each other while the people around them continued walking, completely unaware that two broken hearts were meeting again after 15 long years. The three boys looked back and forth between Daniel and Emily with confused expressions. They had never seen their mother react like this before. The oldest boy gently tugged on Emily's sleeve. "Mom, do you know him?" Emily couldn't answer immediately. She tried to speak, but the words refused to come out. Finally, she nodded slowly. Yes, she whispered. I know him. Daniel took one careful step forward, his voice shaking with emotion. I searched for you everywhere, Emily. I went back to your apartment every week hoping you would return. I called every number I had. I spoke to your friends, your relatives. I even hired private investigators. But it was as if you had vanished from the world. Emily lowered her eyes, unable to look at him. I'm sorry, she said through tears. I wanted to come back, more than anything. Daniel's pain quickly turned into confusion. Then why didn't you? He asked softly. Why did you leave without saying a single word? Emily closed her eyes for a moment before answering. My father found out about us just a few weeks before our wedding. He never accepted our relationship because you weren't wealthy at that time. He believed I deserved someone richer and more powerful. Daniel listened in complete silence. Emily continued with tears rolling down her cheeks. He took me away overnight. He changed my phone number, destroyed every letter you sent, and made sure I could never contact you again. Every time I tried to escape, he threatened to ruin your future. I was terrified that if I came back, he would destroy everything you had worked for. Daniel could hardly believe what he was hearing. For 15 years, he had blamed himself. He had convinced himself that Emily had stopped loving him. But the truth was far more painful. She had never chosen to leave him. She had been forced to. Daniel slowly looked at the three boys standing beside her. As he studied their faces more carefully, something inside him suddenly changed. The oldest boy had his smile. The youngest had his blue eyes. The middle boy even tilted his head exactly the way Daniel used to when he was thinking. A strange feeling filled his heart. He looked back at Emily, his voice trembling. Emily, how old are they? Emily froze. She already knew what he was about to ask. With tears streaming down her face, she quietly answered. They're 14 years old. Daniel felt his heart stop. 14 years. Exactly the same number of years since Emily had disappeared from his life. His lips trembled as he whispered. Emily, are they? Emily nodded before he could finish. Yes, Daniel. They're your sons.